Namaste. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana, and today I am here launching a new series featuring new, upcoming, and many seasoned readers as well too. And we are going to meet our lovely guest today, Marybeth Roden, as well as do some readings together. So I want to say welcome to Marybeth. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I met Marybeth about a year ago, I believe, in one of my classes, and we've been working together on and off since, and it's just been a pleasure to get to know her. Marybeth is from California, so she is in the States. And Marybeth, do you want to tell us a little bit about your tarot journey and how this all started?
Yes, I practiced astrology, or I do practice astrology for years. I mean, probably close to 50 years now. And then about a year and a half ago, I decided, I don't know, just was prompted to take up tarot. Of course, I'd sort of been around it in the circles I was in, and I really enjoyed it. And I really am doing it for my own kind of psycho-spiritual development as part of a, contemplative practice. So this is a little out of my comfort zone to do this, to read for other people. And Sadhana is a fabulous teacher. I'm taking her foundations course right now, and very supportive and incredibly well structured. And I can tell she has a background as a teacher. And no, it's been a great experience,
That's wonderful. Well, I want to say hi to those who are here in the chat. Priya's been here for a little while. And Anna, good morning, early morning to you from New Zealand. And Anne, welcome again. Somebody else who's very far away in the EU. Shannon and Karen. Shannon and Karen are also part of our Tarot Foundations class, so it's lovely to have you here supporting Marybeth. And Diana, classmate as well too, and Anna. And Gerald, hello. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Yeah. So have you started to amass a collection of tarot decks, Marybeth?
Oh yes, I'm definitely bitten by the bug. In fact, I'm trying to kind of ease off a little bit, but yes, I have quite a few. I love it. I mean, I love symbols and stories that they tell in the images, so I'm having fun with that too.
That's great. And so which deck are you going to work with today?
It's the Everyday Witch, right? That's the name of it.
Yeah.
I like it because it's it's kind of a playful looking deck. It almost has a kind of cartoony feel to it, but I've found that it's really accurate. It does, especially for, this is the back. And I'm sorry, I don't know the creator. I should have been more prepared. I mean, Sadhana probably knows. And I've found that especially for daily draws, or anything that I'm doing, say, for like work situations or very practical stuff, it reads beautifully. I mean, it seems to give really good, accurate readings. So, and I thought production value, because I don't have the kind of camera that you can see on the table. If I hold it up, it's easy to read. It's not obscure. Some of the images and other decks are a little bit harder to read like that.
Mm-hmm. So how are you shuffling through your decks? Like, how do you choose which deck to work with at any given time? Because I know you're also quite intrigued with Tarot of the Abyss right now.
Yes, very much so. That's Tarot of the Abyss is what I'm kind of focusing on right now. And also Druidcraft, and because I'm also doing some ancestor work, and those are my roots. So the Wildwood Tarot. So I have those kind of current on my little altar. And those are the ones that I work with most frequently now,
Tell us a little bit about astrology and how that, and where and how that started.
I don't really know. I think a past life, I mean, it must have been, because I'm 71. So coming out of the 60s, and, that stuff was very much in the milieu. And so I just started reading books and, as a teenager, and then started formally studying. And I'm a graduate of Stephen Forrest's apprenticeship program. So the kind of astrology I focus on now is what they call evolutionary astrology, which does look at soul's evolution through karmic experiences. And so I would look at a chart and look at what the karma that is apparently ripening for this lifetime and what the goals are, what the soul's intent for this lifetime was. So I've just been practicing it for years. And I do have a full-time job in human services. So astrology, I don't really hang out a shingle. I wait for people to come to me, and people come to me and I read for them, so I keep my hand in it that way.
But you've mentioned you felt a shift, that this may be shifting.
In terms of, well, certainly I was not expecting the first time I'm reading for the people to be on, live, television, if you will. So yeah, so I think people are coming. So obviously I think Spirit wants me to share. Hopefully I have something to offer. I feel much more confident. I mean, astrology, I know as much as anyone can master. This is very new to me, tarot, though. So
but I mentioned that you don't have a shingle out for your astrology business, but you mentioned recently that you feel like astrology, as well as the calling to be more active as an astrologer, is out there.
Yeah, because more people are coming. I mean, they're finding me. I kind of wait until somebody comes and, I have, so that's how I'm sensing that Spirit is encouraging this. And then when Sadhana said, okay, now we're going to do this, I'm like, whoa, okay. I feel like I always try and be a good sport. So,
Oh, yes. And you're a wonderful, wonderful student and friend. And I love chatting with you in book club and all of that. Have you found significant crossover with what you've learned in astrology and studying tarot?
Yes, I think astrology definitely helps. I mean, coming to it with understanding the symbols and elements, and also many years in Jungian therapy and just immersing myself in a lot of Jungian studies, and that definitely figures in to both practices.
Yeah. Well, it's very, very brave of you being here today. And so I want to, if you have any questions, to start putting your questions into the chat. And Marybeth and I will be both pulling cards for your questions. And I want to say hi to Janine. Lovely to have you here. And also let me know if there is any feedback. I do have another camera on as well too, and I will be using my card cam. But if for some reason the card cam is echoing, then I will also just hold up the cards. So I would appreciate any feedback on that as well too. Nancy, hello and welcome to you. Delati, hello. Lovely to have you here. Hello, Dee. And yes, I totally agree, Anna. I totally agree. Tina, welcome. So Tina is in Sweden, and she's part of our class as well too. And I wanted to just comment on this. So I am offering a new set, taking a new group of 11 in Tarot Foundations in March 2022. But I've also had quite a few inquiries from prospective students in Europe. And so what I was considering doing is doing a more amenable time for Europe. So let me know if you are living in the kind of like the first two time zones, the UK time zone or the next time zone, and you're interested in doing that. So you can send me a private message. But Tina is with us at something like 3 a.m. in the morning or something. She's just so dedicated, and it's lovely to have her. Yeah. And Misty, good morning to you, Misty, or good afternoon. Yes, my beautiful guest here. All right, so I am going to, so you're working with Everyday Witch. Everyday Witch. Yesterday I was on doing card comparisons, and I have a lot of different decks on my table. So if you have any requests and you were watching yesterday, all of those cards, all of those decks are still out here. But I think I am going to, I'm going to use the Wild Unknown Tarot today. So would you, Shannon says, I don't know if Tina ever sleeps. I don't believe there are any questions in the chat. Hello, Richie, Longman Tarot, welcome. So if you do have a question, go ahead and you can type that into the chat. But for this moment, I just want to kind of tap into the mood of the collective. And this morning I am feeling extremely grateful for the rain. It is raining here abundantly, and it just smells so good and it feels so good. So I want to kind of tap into the mood of grace and gratitude. And Marybeth, you also want to draw a card for the collective. I'm going to do a 3-card reading, and then perhaps you can speak to that as well too. Please feel free to draw as many cards as you like. So I invite everyone in the chat, everyone who is behind the scenes, just to close your eyes, perhaps bring a hand to heart, take a big inhale and exhale breath, and come into the mood of gratitude, naming silently what you feel grateful for in this moment. And as I shuffle the cards, I'm asking Spirit to deepen that awareness of gratitude and the medicine of gratitude, and how we can grow and benefit always, but especially right now, if there's something that's coming forth with that energy. Okay, so I've had a very weird cut happen. Usually my cards cut like magnets, but something really funky just happened here. So I'm going to pay attention to that. All right. And this is the first time, so I'm looking for any noises, anything about sound, and I don't hear any comments on sound. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to see. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So the first card, and I'm going to back off a little bit, is the Ace of Truth, otherwise known as the Ace of Swords. And I really like this. There's something about this card, I feel, always, that gives one courage. It's a card of courage, and especially for people who have been suppressed in any way, because the voice is so it's so powerful. And if you look at this particular Ace of Swords and how the snake creates that lemniscate around the sword, there's something really powerful in that. And if this is deck that you don't work with, there's some magic also in the rainbow energy. And it's funny that it's raining here, and it probably will be sunny soon. And I just said that word rainbow. I'm not in Hawaii where there's all rainbows every day, multiple times a day. They're a rare occurrence. And so I want to pay attention to that. I also feel that lightning strike and the storm and that whole notion of energy and weather is important here as well too. So to maybe be inspired, maybe this word and this voice is inspiration from Spirit, inspiration through the weather, through the observations of the external. And I almost feel like a poetic energy here, perhaps to release pain. And a second ago I mentioned suppression. And so with this 3 of Swords, I really kind of feel the strangulation of these ribbons around the swords. And so it's like that ace is wanting you to break through that and to let that go. So allow that, what if we turn this 3 of Swords upside down and the 3 swords kind of splay like this? I'm going to just kind of adapt the, yeah, it's, no, I can't do what I want to do here. Okay. I am having technical difficulties here. I want to go get this thing off my face so you can see my face as well too. There we go. That's better. Yeah, so what I was saying is that if we can let those chords, break through those chords. Poetry, Son of Cups. Son of Cups. So there's perhaps an offering here. There's a gentle offering that might speak to some of you. And yeah. So feel. This is I want to say also to feel and to allow yourself to feel the hurt if there is hurt, but to allow your expression come through your voice. I think that's a powerful message here. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to expand on, Marybeth?
Well, I think what's interesting is that the cards that I drew, there's sort of a symmetry and tone. That the center card I drew is the King of Pentacles. Gratitude practice is something that's very important to me, and I think it's very healing and very helpful. So the King of Pentacles, I thought, well, it's great. There's a lot to be grateful for, and that's wonderful. I think that center card, like you had a good center card, and then kind of reflective of the Three of Swords as a clarifier on the left. I got the Four of Swords, so which is a little bit different in energy, but I think maybe part of what I'm grateful for is connection to spirit and those times that I can retreat and that I have that, and that supports the plentitude. I mean, it's a very different kind of feel and energy with these cards. And then the third card was the Star, which I just feel like, again, it speaks to connect. There's a flow, and particularly in this card, the way it works, she's taking as above, bringing down below, and that she's a conduit for, almost like in the way the magician is, sort of, I think. And so again, just room for gratitude, I think. It was like a very positive, and I just thought it was interesting that the symmetry, that there's kind of the center, the right card for you, and then this kind of maybe a little bit different tone in the,
It's very calm. It's very calming.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And the medicine of gratitude. So in the teachings of yoga, the medicine of gratitude is the medicine of the heart space. And I always, as a tarot reader, because of my yogic studies, have a hard time sometimes wandering and weaving through the teachings of yoga psychology and the tarot, because the heart chakra is the element of air. And I find it very interesting, especially tarot decks that use a lot of water in the Suit of Swords. And to find that connection between the heart and the truth, the heart and the mind, perhaps. And I feel like a lot of the painful sword cards are reaching out to ask us to get into the heart space, to feel the heart space. And so when we're, a lot of time, don't you feel like a lot of times gratitude practices, people feel they're token, it's like meaningless affirmations, it's like, I need to do my gratitude practice today. And do you know what I mean? Like,
I absolutely. I mean, I that's not how I use it, and I'm not casting shade on anybody else. Trust me, I'm not a woke person here, but yeah, I don't use it that way. I mean, and for me, I think I shared in book club last night that I'm pretty much a positive person, but I think it's interesting that I pulled the King of Pentacles, because one of the things that have been sort of getting me down this week, which is unusual for me, is just the bad news about the climate, and this is a this is obviously, it's Earth. He's around the riches of Earth. And so I hope that there's some hope there, that, to be grateful for what there is. And I'm grateful for your rain, which we would love to have here in Southern California. So.
Yeah. And I guess for Karen, as it's raining too, she says, I love listening to it. Karen's not too far away. She's in Victoria. She says she's at the base of Vancouver Island, which is right on the 49th parallel. Yeah. So it's really something. So yeah, so I want to say hello to Joel, who is here. Lovely to have you here, Joel. And yeah, so thanks everybody for cheering Marybeth on. It's such a lovely an important part of daily practice and healing. And many Jen of Jen's Science to Soul Tarot initiated a tarot gratitude challenge in 2020, and then in January 2021 we did it again, and it was just an amazing way to connect with the tarot. And I'm hoping that Jen is going to do that again. I feel like I want to let her run and lead the herd in that way, but it's a practice that we can do at any time, and it's a really beautiful way to connect with a deck as well too.
Yeah.
And especially choosing a deck that perhaps is a little more challenging, and to start to dive into the imagery on the deck. It's one of the ways that I have found a much deeper connection with the tarot is through that. Yeah.
I thought it was very powerful. I did it, and I used the Marielle tarot, which is way above me. I mean, but it opened up the deck for me, and also I thought was really beautiful. I think in what people shared. I think Cheryl, you did this too. Anyway, that finding gratitude with the difficult cards, because some of us pulled very challenging cards, and that was really helpful. It's very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I used the first time I used I've used multiple decks, and then I also did the compassion practice too. So for the compassion practice, and I used the Hush Tarot last time, which is a deck that I had a really hard time. So yeah, so I want to come back to that. So nobody has a question for us, Marybeth?
Well, I'm it's too much for me because this is new to read and stuff, but I'm seeing a little bit of the comments, and thank you very much for everybody's support. It's a very supportive group, and thank you. No trolls. Oh, good.
No trolls. Okay. So one of you lovely souls. So let's go to Delatey's question, and it's just talking about, we'll just chat about the gratitude practice. And maybe you can expand on it if you did it differently, Marybeth, as well too. So what you do is you have a deck, and you just simply hold the deck in your hand, in your heart space, and you start to shuffle and contemplate the mood of gratitude. And you could ask simply, what would I benefit feeling grateful for today? Or how will gratitude enhance my life today? Is there a teaching or an aspect of gratitude that will help the healing of my heart space? Because ultimately gratitude is about this space. And so you just shuffle the cards and you reflect, and you simply draw a card. So I'll just do that. And then you take some time to look into the image and reflect on the colors, reflect on perhaps things you haven't seen in the card before, look at it sideways, look at it upside down, and then you just journal about it in response to your question. And for me, to draw a card, put it to the side and look at it for a few hours, or come back later in the day and do the writing, or I was doing live YouTube. It needs a little bit of time to marinate. And I found it a really beautiful practice. So it's not complicated, Dee, at all. Yeah.
And what she did, which I did, which was really good, because I'm busy, so it's hard for me, even if I posted something on my altar. But she said, put the card on your screensaver, and that I did that, so that every day I carried it with me, and that was a good way of keeping it present on the phone. Yeah.
All right. So Gerald's going to throw a question out there. Thank you so much, Gerald. What insight can you provide on the change of focus of my YouTube presence? Okay. Marybeth, would you like to go first?
I will. I wasn't aware that there was a change in focus, so should I know what it is, or I can just do it without that?
I'm not entirely clear on that myself. All I know is that the Hermit Mage is no longer, and
Yes.
Gerald is focusing just on the Tarot Stash channel. But I think our lack of clarity is probably good here.
Okay.
Yeah. Gerald says he's still doing his gratitude challenge, and he's on in week 31 so far. That's amazing.
Bravo. Thank Spirit to come through, and Gerald's guides and ancestors who are here for his highest good to give us some insight about the change of direction. And I'm just going to continue to do 3 cards. Oh, interesting. We're not supposed to do that. You said not to do. I know in the foundations class, you said when you're doing a reading, not to pull a card and say, "Ooh, that looks good." And I just did it. I said, "Oh, that looks good." Okay. Okay. So, okay. Again. Okay. So the card that I first drew was the 7 of Pentacles, which I think, I mean, it says to me that we're speaking to the question, because it's a craft, you're looking at it, you're cultivating it. What do I prune? What do I keep? That seems, okay, seems like you're on the right track by doing that. And with this deck, I've been starting to pay attention to the familiar, because they're all witches. So there's always a cat. And so I'm paying attention. To me, the cat is the instinct, the instinctive level. So the cat seems engaged in the process as well, too. Now, their backs are to each other. So I think that might be a caution to make sure that you're following your intuition. I suspect you are, because that's how you roll, but and that she has gifts on the table. She has learning, and she has the cup. So connection with spirit and feeling in the unconscious. And she has the knowledge and the wisdom, and she's doing the work. And then the Knight of Swords was a clarifier. And I don't know, again, Gerald, you know so much more about tarot than I do, but I wonder if that might be a caution against moving too quickly or rushing in. But certainly the energy is there. And then the final card, the 8 of Pentacles, which I think is, again, it's about perfection of craft. It seems to indicate to me that this is a work in progress, as it always is. Our work always should be, and always evolving. And going from the 7 to 8 seems to indicate that you're on the right track. I don't know if that feels right to you or not. And in this card, which is the cat is looking at the same thing that she's looking at. So it seems like there's a mind and instinctive connection, the integration.
Beautiful. Thank you. So I've already drawn my my first card, which is the Son of Pentacles. So that's a lot of pentacles, Gerald. And and the first Marybeth's first card was the 7. Yeah. So I don't feel that this is going to I use the word marinate a lot. I feel like that is an important quality to this. But I'm also, look how the deer is looking down to the earth, and the respect and the reverence of the earth. And I'm wondering if this has more to do with your witchcraft in introducing, sharing your experiences, the different practices connected to the Sabbats, some of your more the daily things that you do. And there's something about the reverence for the earth that I feel is important here. And the pace of this feels very nourishing. It feels very slow and beautifully connected. Okay. So with this 9 of Wands, what I'm feeling here is the step, that we're slowly ascending the ladder. We're slowly moving up the path towards the light. And I really like the take on this this Nine of Wands. The suit of Wands tends to be very erratic. You know, there can be, when we get on those higher cards, that fire is, it can be hard to manage. And the way that Kim Kranz drew this Nine of Wands with the wands going horizontally, it feels like they're a little cooler. You know, they're not connected. They're slowing down. There's space between each of those steps. And I love that we have that in connection with the Nine of Pentacles. So we still have this path of Dharma. I really see the suit of wands connected to your Dharma, to your path, to your purpose, right? So there's time for this. So craft in connection to the earth. And then my third card, oh, more pentacles, Gerald. So this is the mother. So the mother's going to say to you to feel. In the background of this card, we have that green color of the heart space. So we can connect that to Mother Earth, but we can also connect that to the healing of the heart. And so to allow your craft to be, allow the healing, earthy aspect of your craft to come through on your channel. Because I think people want to hear from multiple perspectives. Yeah.
Can I ask on the Six of Pentacles? There's a little bit of reverb. Is that the moon or the sun above the deer?
The sun on the sun.
Okay, so that's interesting. There's the sun, the moon, and then the pentacle above the.
Oops, sorry, wrong person. Let me do this.
Yeah.
So there is the.
Yeah.
So there's the moon. And I feel, there's the sun. And sometimes with those cards, I almost feel an eclipse energy, like an emphatic exclamation mark. I'm not sure how you, in a very general way, read eclipses, Marybeth, with astrology, but whenever I see that pentacle in front of the sun as an eclipse kind of energy. And so the deer is in darkness looking down to the earth, and perhaps the sun for a moment is being covered up. And there's an emphatic nature to the mindfulness of the Son of Pentacles.
I know Stephen says that in an eclipse, a solar eclipse, when the moon moves in front of the sun, or whatever it does anyway, to let the heart eclipse the head, to follow your heart. You're bringing forth wisdom that's available in the dark and in reflection.
Beautiful. Yeah, I there's so many layers to this particular deck, looking at the colors in the background, the way the lines move. So thank you for your insight, and I hope that helps, Gerald. I don't know if you've done a bit of witchcraft on your channel, but that certainly hasn't been a focus. And I know you've shared your tools and so forth. When Richie was on, you talked about tools and that. Yeah. Okay. So does anyone else have a question? Please feel free to throw that out there. And we will, Lydianne, do you have a question? Or D-Lady, Shannon, Tina? Marybeth, have you used the Wild Unknown Tarot?
I have. I think it's a little advanced for me. But I recognize it wonderful, and the Wild Unknown Oracle, just fabulous. The round, yeah.
Oh, so we've been using that in I have a Facebook group, a small Facebook group, and post readings once a week. And we've been working with Kim Kranz's wild unknown archetypes and focusing on an archetype and doing a reading around the theme of the archetype each week. And it's a really lovely way to not only to get to know the deck, but to start to connect with the archetypes. Lily Valley has a question. Okay, I will go back and find it. Lily Valley, could you please copy and repaste your question? And then we'll get to that. Oh, I see. There's your question. First, I'm just going to go to Gerald. Lovely. Okay. I'm glad we're both on the same page with that because it feels very, very calming. Okay, so let's go to Lily. How will be my last week in my work?
Wow. It's a big moment.
Yeah, big moment. Would you like to lead again, Marybeth?
Sure. Let me just do a shuffle. I was doing hand over shuffle. Let me do one ruffle shuffle.
And after we've done a couple readings, I'm going to ask you about your hand karma. I forgot to ask you about that.
Oh, happy to share that. I mean, it's a little gruesome, but a little bit of, but I'll keep it kind of, no, it's really fascinating.
All right, so let's hold light and love around Lydianne, and I will let Marybeth go when she's ready.
Yeah, and I had to stop. Ooh, I had to stop that impulse. Okay, all right. So the Magician. Now, I don't know, Lily Valley, if you're going to a new venture, if this is just focusing on the last week, but the Magician, I think, is really wonderful because it says that you have the tools and the resources, that you have mastered something, that this feels like a very positive. I would assume that if you're leaving, you're ready for a next adventure, or this is kind of completing something, and this suggests that you're taking something forward, that you've mastered something that's going to move forward. To me, that would reflect that powerful card, and I like that the familiar is sitting up at attention and really focused on you, and again speaks to integration, I think, of heart and head and intuition. And then the Hanged Man. So I wonder, again, without knowing the facts, if there's going to be a period of consideration, or if this followed a period of consideration where it's a time to withdraw and reflect, or maybe you're diving right into the next adventure. I don't know. But that would seem to be that something's in suspension, being considered, that maybe some delay in a positive way, and then I love this. I know I'm not supposed to editorialize, but Page of Pentacles, and that seems to suggest that this is that things will go well, and that there's a bridge to the next. That'll be a good bridge to the next adventure. There's a signpost pointing toward, a tower of sorts. He's got a map. He knows where he's going. He's considering it, and all that lovely energy of the page and new things to learn, I think. New undertakings. There was something that I thought of, that I know that, if you're leaving a job, and I don't know, maybe it's one of those things where you're just as glad to get out of it, but usually there's a mixture of, sadness and saying goodbye and then moving on. And this seems to be, so that may be what part of the Hanged Man is about, taking time to reflect on. I sometimes when I'm in big changes like that the focus is so much on the next step and the forward moving, that you forget that it's also a good time to stop and integrate. And it sounds as if with the Magician, that you have the tools and the resources, that you've amassed some. That's something to consider, that you have, what are you bringing forward? And then a time to reflect and make sure that you feel the feelings of saying goodbye. So that's what I see. But now Sadhana will clear anything up there.
Oh gosh, Marybeth, you're doing just fantastic. So this is the Eight of Cups in this deck. And look at the proportion of dark to light in this card.
Yeah.
And this to me speaks to this is the 7. Sorry, this is not the 8. This is the 7. Interesting. And I don't think I've ever looked at this card on the camera before. And I was just sitting observing this as Marybeth was talking, and I'm seeing something completely different here. And I feel more of a 8 actually here, and the amount of light the proportion of light to dark feels significant. And it feels like if there is, and I'm also seeing a mountain here with darkness on the other side as well too. So many different possible ways to look at this card, that the mountain ahead, the next step ahead, is full of light, and it is so surmountable. So don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed by any sense of not knowing, you know. And there's only 1 cup that is turned upside down. 6 cups are full. And this feels very much like what Marybeth was saying, to really grasp what you have, to grasp what you know. And you asked particularly about this week. So I think that 6 of Cups speaks to the 6 of harmony, the 6 of love, the 6 of gratitude. Celebrate, be in the light with the people that you've been with for some time, you know, and then go, and then, you know, climb this mountain that is ahead. This is creating a beautiful new, this is the 4 of Wands. It's creating a beautiful new experience for you. I think there's a lot to celebrate here. There's a lot to celebrate, and you are leaving from strength. You're leaving from something quite solid. So this feels really, really beautiful. And I also feel like you've very much made, 2. Okay. So there's a real sense of moving forward. Love the rainbow colors in the back of 2. Anything is possible. Notice how those 2 wands, are coming together. So this is about finding your focal point. So you had Magician, and what was your second card, Marybeth?
The Magician first, and the Hanged Man, and then the Page of Pentacles.
Okay, so you had 2 major arcana.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So remember this date. Remember this shift in your life. This is creating something. This is a milestone to remember. This is a milestone to remember. And I feel like you're moving on from a tremendous amount of strength and wisdom. And that Hanged Man card feels somewhat connected to this 7.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like you're going to be in limbo for any length of time. You know, there's and be curious, you know, embrace that page energy and be really, really curious about any and all possibilities. I don't see 2 possibilities. I see a rainbow of possibilities that lie ahead. So enjoy this last week. Okay.
I wonder, you know, because so often the 4 of Wands is, you know, people celebrating. And I wonder, I mean, just on a really mundane level, if people are going to be taking you out to lunch and, you know, saying goodbye. I know it's hard with COVID and stuff, and I don't know where you are in the world, but I would enjoy, let them fet you, let them treat you.
Yes. Let them treat you, because you deserve it. You deserve it. Okay. Let's go to Janine. You're very welcome, Lydia, and thank you.
You'll let us know how it goes.
Lydia is in the chat quite often, so I'm sure she will. I'm holding light and love around both Andrea and Janine, as Janine hold space for her friend Andrea.
Do I go first this time?
Yeah, you go first. You're doing so well.
People are being very kind. Thank you. Okay, so asking Andrea and Jean. Well, this is interesting because so the first card was the Knight of Queen of Wands. I have two court cards, and one is the Queen of Wands. And I assume that Andrea's going through some difficult times. I mean, so I like dragon energy, and I actually pulled this card today, this morning for myself, and because of my Celtic heritage, dragons are, and I always think of them as guarding the treasure. That's usually what I think of, so in terms of depth psychology, they're one of the guideposts on the royal road to the unconscious. So this seems to me that the suggestion is the Queen of Wands that can really bring forth some treasure, that you have something inside, inner insights and inner connection that will help support her, and that to not be afraid to share from that. And a hummingbird is coming in. There's a lot of, to me, this is about connection with spirit, and what is produced by that is the light that she holds, that she's holding up. Maybe the dragon ignited that, lit that passion in her, that fire. And it feels like a very positive card in terms of what you are bringing to the table, in terms of what this transition is. And Wands, I think of as the hope and the willingness to move forward through transition. So I think I'm not phrasing it very well, but I feel it's very positive. And then the Knight of Cups, and I know there can be a negative way that he operates, but this to me, I think, again, is bringing gifts of spirit and that connection, the love that you have for her, the coming from the heart space, as Sadhana would say, and moving quickly to help her. You're there for her. That feels very positive. So I would say that both of these are about what you're feeling, whatever you're getting from spirit, or this is where I'm kind of going off in a Jungian direction, but whatever is coming from your insights, to not hesitate to share that with her. And sometimes I think when we're supporting friends who are going through a tough time, we sometimes pull our punches a little bit. We might hesitate to share, maybe afraid to give home truths, or maybe that's too much for the person. Obviously, you do it with gentleness and love. The Queen of Wands is carrying flowers, and so do it with gentleness, of course, but I wouldn't hesitate to share from that. And then the Four of Wands, I mean, it doesn't sound like this is a celebratory time, but it sounds as if this speaks to the foundation of the strength of because I think the Four of Wands is about building and foundations, as I've learned from Sadhana. And I think the fact that the familiars are all participating in this, that there's that heart-mind connection, and that the foundation of your friendship is something that she can draw on, that just being there, as Sadhana said, holding space, would be a good basis for her moving forward, being present for her, feeling her feelings, allowing her to express and to share.
I want to comment on Marybeth's cards, in that I saw you, Janine, sitting with her, painting her nails, or I don't know, it felt like a real personal connection. And as soon as Marybeth said that word treasure, it sent chills through my spine. It felt, we were talking earlier about gratitude, about counting our blessings and being in joy, and that celebration card feels perfect. So being really grateful for all that you have shared together and continue to share those things together. There's quite a few readings in the chat, so I'm going to share with you just, we have a repeating card. So the Son of Pentacles was the card that I drew. And so this feels, I don't know, it feels nurturing and caring. And it's not the Queen of Pentacles, right? It's the Son of Pentacles who is curious, and he's active, and active in a different way than that Queen of Wands. But I don't know, I feel like you can do things together in whatever capacity that you are capable of, and to make it really, really, really joyful feels important. Yeah. So blessings to you and Andrea.
Yeah. Good luck.
Hello to Hika. I don't believe I said hello to Hika. And lovely, lovely feedback on Marybeth's interpretation.
Well, it'd be nice. Thank you.
Let's go to, no, your insight is lovely. Let's go to Richie, Longman Tarot. And I want to say to Janine, if you want to message me later, I will expand on my cards. I'm just going to make a little note of it here, okay? Okay, so this is for Richie. Marybeth, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I got the 10 of Wands, which I guess it suggests that you're carrying a lot. And I know we just covered this in Sadhana's class about the question is, what can you put down? That this is a lot to carry. You've been through a lot. And are there things that I'm double Capricorn, so I'm going to go really practical. If you are experiencing some kind of distress, is some of it about trying to step outside and prioritize? What are you really concerned about? What are the what are the worries that maybe need to step to the fore and really be addressed, and what can you put to the side if that's possible. And I know sometimes if you're overwhelmed, that can be hard. Judgment, there are two major arcanas in this reading, and this is judgment, which I think is about hopefully that something's coming to an end. I mean, that if we have the Ten of Wands and then judgment, and that again is kind of a process of discernment, setting aside what, separating the wheat from the chaff, what needs focus and what maybe is things that you can let go of, I would think. And the final card is the Magician. It came up again. So that would suggest that you do have the resources, that this process of kind of winnowing, reflection, discerning what you can let go of, that will empower you to move forward. I don't know.
I can build on that energy. And this for me is a very challenging card in this particular deck.
Yeah.
And if we look at the fours and the restriction that is created with the fours, not only do the fours create a foundation, they also create an extreme condensation of energy. And with the rat on top of those 4 cups, it's almost as if the rat is stifling the emotions, right? The energy can't be released. The evaporation cannot happen through the cups. There definitely is light in the background, but the rat is in the darkness. And so tying that together with that 10 of Wands energy, there's a release that needs to happen. Sometimes we just have to put the needle in the balloon and let the balloon burst. And so what was your second card, Marybeth?
The second card was Judgment.
Okay. So this release, the importance of this release feels critical to that shift, because Judgment is a huge shift, right? It's a major card, end of the cycle. But we have to be courageous enough to let go. Let go. We can let go in mundane ways, we can let go of stuff. But I think perhaps this is bigger than that. There's other things that need to be released. There's a diffusion of energy that is necessary. Now you're going to, I don't know, the next 2 cards, it's really something. I have all cup cards. I have Ace and 2. So we have 4, Ace, and then 2. So this is all about, for me, this feels about your emotions and what has been repressed emotionally. And so whatever tools, whatever support, whatever friends, resources you can tap into, it feels that power of letting go is going to be tremendously, tremendously healing. What was your third card, Marybeth?
The Magician. And I also thought, I wonder if this is maybe also seeking help, that find the Magician in your life to help in terms of what support, but also I took this as he did have the resources to move forward. And
so the Magician is a 1.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you also had a 10.
Yeah, I had a 10, and then also, Judgment, which is,
which is a double 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So Richie, it's time. It's time for this to come to an end. It's time to move on. And it feels like the moving on is going to be tremendously healing. Okay, so let us know if this resonates, and yeah, that's a lot of cup cards. That's a lot of cup cards to come up. 3 cup cards in the early part of that suit. And that in itself can be overwhelming. So the need for balance is important, to balance that with the fire of the magician, right? The magician is more active. He's doing something. So it's important not just to lie around and wallow in this, but to find some physical activity to support this time as well too. Okay. Hello, P. If we have time for your question, you just can type your question into the chat, and we'll see if we get to that. So we are at the hour mark, so we'll do a couple more questions. For sure, we'll do Joel and Anne, and we'll see what time it is after that. So let's go to Joel. Go, Marybeth, when you're ready. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of major arcanas coming through today. I got the moon. I don't know, that would seem to indicate some uncertainty, which obviously that's why you're asking the question, I would assume. And that, again, maybe looking to, I feel like I'm saying the same thing, but the moon to me, what I think of as the moon energy is that there are things that you can see by moonlight that are blanched out or bleached out by the light of day. And so it's about looking inside for in your unconscious, your interior space in terms of what you want to move forward with. The other card is the star, which came up again, and I'm shuffling well, so the fact that it's coming up, and again that same, it feels that these are nighttime cards, that there's a night journey involved, looking inside, going into the unconscious, as I said, bringing those truths forward, and the sort of outcoming is the Knight of Wands, which suggests some, after a period of reflection, moving forward quickly. I don't know if you have any. Oh, and there's more dragon energy here. He's because the dragons are not in every card in this deck. It's not a particularly dragony deck, but he's moving forward, and it seems like there's inspiration coming. That maybe that's after this period of reflection, some inspiration will be found. More treasure, and it feels like he's just taking off. He's not completely airborne. He's just, feet have just left the ground, and he's getting airborne on his broom. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest, which I'm sure you're doing, that whatever reflection you're doing will bear fruit, will give you a clear, because obviously the wands, they're pretty clear about where they're going, and there's a destination there, and it seems like there's hope and help, but that after a period of now current reflection and looking inside in this particular deck, instead of the moon, instead of having, those snappy, those creatures coming out, you have what looks to me like a cat looking at its reflection, and it's a panther, a bigger cat, so that looking into the unconscious sometimes can be overwhelming, or fears can be exaggerated. So taking time to reflect upon that. And then leading to the star, which is a very hopeful card, you know.
Mm-hmm. I really, this is the moon card from, this is not your draw, Joel. This is the moon card from the Wildwood Tarot. And the moon is, the reflection of the moon also reveals an egg in the subconscious.
Mm.
And there is no crack in that egg. The egg is waiting there to be discovered. The cards that I drew for you, there's 2 butterfly cards and a magician card. There's definitely a sense of emergence and change. And my 3rd card very much matches Marybeth's card. So the first card was the 2 of Pentacles. And so we have 2 butterflies, to me, which are a huge, huge symbol of transformation. The second card is the 6 of Wands. And so I'm wondering if there has been a attachment to something you were supposed to do. You know, is that it almost feels like you need a little more courage to go bravely forward. And so to allow yourself to step out of your comfort zone. Because what is on the other side is really bright and beautiful. But there's something that is not yet revealed. And I think that's why that 2 of Pentacles energy is there. And you're not quite sure about that. And so that moon card feels significant. Moon cards are highly, highly significant. So I wouldn't be rushing ahead, as Marybeth said, to sit in contemplation for a little bit. But what is on the other side of that feels very bright and very beautiful and full of potential. So you specifically add, what is the next direction? The next direction feels a lot more active, participatory. And I believe we've talked about magic and magicians and that kind of energy before, but there's something that needs to be figured out in the meantime. What was your middle card, Marybeth?
Well, the first card was the moon. You know.
And what was the second card?
The star.
The star. Okay.
And then the final was Knight of Wands, which felt very active compared to, you know, the other 2. They were much more reflective, but this is, and they were nighttime cards. And this is, there's glowering, you know, skies, but, you know, the fire, the dragon is breathing fire on the mountain and summoning him, I think. So maybe there will be some inspiration coming through after a period of reflection that defines the path, or that, I mean, he's certainly, the dragon is appearing with a beacon of light, you know, to guide the way. And it feels, yeah.
Joel, if you have the Wildwood Tarot, take out the moon card and take out the star card and just put them on your altar. I'm going through the wrong deck here. The star card I really see as one of purification. So again, there's this mood of letting go of something, letting something come to the surface and then letting it go and being more in a place of trust. So perhaps this is coming to the surface because there's been that more of an egoic, wanting to control your life kind of energy. So there's a sense of abandonment ahead, and more of moving in trust, moving in the flow. So I feel like what's on the other side feels quite differently than the present. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that, Joel. Hello, Tammy Pie. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Okay, so let us go to Anne. And then this may be the last one for today. I need to do some changes in my life, habits, I want to break. I seem to often sabotage myself when I know I want the change. Wondering about the cause and how to break the circle. Okay, so there's a few questions embedded here. So why don't we focus on the obstacle or the underlying energy? Because sometimes if there's an aha moment around that, just understanding that a little more clearly can help you to move forward. Does that work for you, Marybeth?
Yes. Okay. Underlying energy.
Let's shine some light on the underlying energy. That what is Anne not seeing?
Yes.
If there's likely, Anne, you are fully aware of what this is, but perhaps another couple of voices can help to shine some light here.
Okay. I'm asking this. Interesting. Okay. So the Four of Pentacles, which is I interpret as, in this case, as a holding energy, something you're holding on to. Again, there can be positive, it can be consolidation of gains and stuff, but I'm wondering if, because something's blocking the change, if it's maybe fear of letting go, fear of risking. It's like a hoarding energy instead of a casting your bread out onto the waters, or investing, and maybe seeing things grow. Okay. And then the Page of Pentacles again, which we're seeing this again. So this would seem to indicate that there's a map there, that you have a sense of, that you know where you might, not that you know where you want to go and what you want to go. And that he's at a crossroads. And so it's deciding. And then the Seven of Swords. So I'm wondering if we look at this as a card where things are being taken surreptitiously. I know that sometimes, psychologically coming to consciousness can be accompanied by a feeling of guilt in the psyche, because it's moving toward wholeness and it's breaking the ego's hold on things. So I wonder, this to me feels like really clear that there's something that needs to be let go of. And I'm not talking about the habits. I'm talking about what the underlying energy is. If there's something about your worldview, your beliefs or system that are underlying the habit that might need addressing. And again, always the question with the Seven of Swords, is something being liberated or is something being taken?
Okay. I'm in a big here, a big First card is the High Priestess. So you're doubting your intuition. You're not fully listening to that. So the question was, what are we not seeing? What are we not seeing? So that Four of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles energy, we're not seeing. So we can also look at this as we're not seeing the gifts, right? We're not seeing the gifts, or there's just not enough fire underneath there. I need to sit with this. Like, Marybeth, can you?
There's something about this sitting in this particular card. It's like he's clamping something down. He's sitting, and his familiar is looking out the window. His familiar sees a way. He sees the light. He sees the way out, and their perspective is so different. There's almost something so a little obdurate. So I'm wondering if the high priestess, there are things you're not seeing, and trust me, I've been there, that maybe there are things that you don't want to see or look at, again, because I think if we have a habit that we want to break, obviously, the underlying, whatever the underlying energy is probably something pretty touchy, primal, more basic, and that can be harder to look at. So it might mean that there's a reflection for that. And I wonder if that, again, this is not coming out of tarot, it's coming out of depth psychology, that, that thing that I talked about, that sometimes coming to consciousness is experienced in dreams as thievery. I'm stealing something, because the ego experiences that as guilt. And I wonder if, to me, that might indicate that there's something that underlying that is hard to look at or hard to accept, but that would be what would help you let go of the habit and seize the riches, claim the riches.
Mm-hmm. There's something about that primal energy that is really significant here. Look at that fiery energy of the Daughter of Wands. Then we have two wildcats sitting there. So it's almost as if you're not seeing that side of yourself.
I mean, it's interesting that in this page of Pentacles, there's a signpost. He's at a crossroads, but he's not looking at the directions. He's flipping a coin, and he's not looking down at the map. I mean, I wonder if it's to me, this suggests the need to look at something. I mean, God, you don't need a tarot reader to tell you that, but, and I think this thing about the Four of Pentacles, where the cat, where the familiar, the instinct is looking out and spotting the way out, or spotting possibility. There's a dawn breaking there, or rain, sunlight coming through the clouds, and he's obdurately not looking at that. But here, the cat is aiding and abetting her or him in stealing the riches, if we're going to look at it from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. And those riches too are related to those riches can be your truth, your voice. Those riches can be something that lies deep within you. And I really like that, what Danielle said, and then Tina says, I also noticed that the high priestess and the magician aren't looking at each other.
Yeah.
And the magician is also highly intuitive and can be, right? The magician isn't necessarily a trickster or a showman. There's a deep connection with that card as well too. This feels like you're not paying attention. So I think the message here is to pay attention, to look at the map, to look at the signs, to look at the symbols, to listen to your intuition. We do have, so your numbers were 4, 1, and 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or 4, 11, and 7, 15 and 7 and 18. 18 is the moon. Okay. Sometimes I like to add the cards together. So you had 4 and 7 is 11, and 11 is 22, which is a master number. Okay. I feel like there's a couple of messages here. There's a message about the primal energy. There's also a message about not trusting and looking within, so looking away. And so I think this is an invitation to really to look a little deeper at what's going on, and to be brave to do that.
I also, if I can interrupt, in this card, she's got 5. She has 5 of the swords, and the 2 that are on the wall that she's eyeing is above the bookshelf, and that may mean, and there's something there on a shield that might be even a little bit scarier, or feel more elusive, or more out of my reach, but it's on the bookshelf, or maybe getting some information or knowledge, or reflection on what I'm sure you know what the underlying thing is, or have glimpses of it, and that maybe there's some reading or learning that can help with that, to get those two extra pieces of the puzzle, sort of, because she has 5 of them. 2 more coming.
Mm-hmm. The Daughter of Wands is going to poke. I think you used the word poke somewhere, Marybeth. The Daughter of Wands is going to, maybe that was a previous message, but the Daughter of Wands wants you to poke at this, to dive a little deeper into this. And another observation was that the Magician, so his 4 feet are based on the Pentacle, which connects to Marybeth's card of that Page of Pentacles card.
I mean, it's such a defensive posture, so what are you defending against? Kind of letting into the breakthrough, which is totally human and understandable,
You also use the word guilt, Marybeth, which is a very powerful, it's a challenging energy to work through. And guilt lives in the Swadhisthana chakra, the 2nd chakra. Guilt. So here's another kind of that might help, Anne. So if guilt lives in it has to do with our compulsions and addictions. It has to do with relationships as well too. And so guilt tends to live in this very, very challenging chakra. It's deeply connected to past patterns and so forth. But that guilt is often reflected in our truth. And so there's a connection between the guilt and the 7 of Swords. So perhaps you feel guilty for taking what is yours. So the challenge of the 7 of Swords is to see which side of the coin you are on. And so if there is survivor's guilt or inheritance guilt or guilt for claiming, that's also a possibility here. 4 of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles, 7 of Swords. This feels very connected to inheritance to me.
Yeah.
I wonder. So this very wild cat kind of energy that's sitting down here is quite balanced, actually. We have the watery lunar high priestess who's not paying attention to the fiery magician. And then we have a fiery Daughter of Pentacles over here. So this shift, Anne, feels important to get to nip the bud here. Anne is not chatting with us, so I'm gonna just let her reflect on that. And Marybeth and I are going to, we're gonna hang up the reading hat here, and I want to say thank you for posting your questions.
Thank you.
Next, it's wonderful, Marybeth. Your insight has been amazing. What I do want to wind up with today is to let Marybeth share her story of her hand karma, because this is such, I love this story, and it's just a way for you to get to know Marybeth a little bit more, and perhaps some of you will relate to this.
Well, okay, so I'm missing a thumb, my left hand. It's and a horse pulled it off. I was a horsewoman for many years before I got too fat and arthritic, but I hunter jumpers and love horses and always have. But this is an example of how evolutionary astrology, I think, helps, because clearly a karmic, it was something like out of a epic, novel, where the god comes down and intervenes. I'm hitching the horse up to the post. He was head shy. It means a certain thing to horsemen. And I wasn't told about it. And I still remember it, a gust of Santa Ana wind just all of a sudden blew the wind and scared him. And he reared back and caught my thumb between the hitching post and the rope. And I think it reminded me of a scene out of the Iliad, where they're fighting and all of a sudden Athena will come down and pull the guy's hair and he'll, oh yeah, I gotta pay attention. And so anyway, in my chart, and this is going to take a little bit of technical stuff on astrology. In evolutionary astrology, you pay a lot of attention to the nodes of the moon, the south and the north node of the moon. And the south node indicates past karma, north node, what you're working toward and going through. And I won't get into totally analyzing the planets and stuff because it's complicated and you sort of need to know a little bit about astrology. But the end result is that the ruler of my south of my, Pluto is in the third house of communication. Pluto also very important in analyzing karma and writing and communication, opposed by the ruler of the south node, Venus, in the ninth house of established religion and dogma. And I'm talking about these things in very negative ways because something happened in the karmic past that, wasn't right. And you can, there are many positive things to say about Pluto and about the ninth house. I think that my analysis of that is that in the karmic past, to get along, I went along, and that I became a spokesperson for a message, that I didn't really believe in. Let's say I'm going with the conquistadors, horses, and fighting the Aztecs and the Incas, and they want to burn, the people I'm answering to want to burn all the books. And I'm like, well, these people aren't really hurting anybody. What the hell? But okay, well, those are my orders. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write, denouncements, in other words, I became the voice person or the spokesperson, the person who wrote down for the oppressive forces. And I think that is where I have hand karma, because the third house is also the house of hand-eye coordination. Very often you see it strong in like pilots, people who have to be very good with that kind of thing. And I think that that's where the karma comes from, that this is a reminder. And they say that very often if you have scars on your body, it can indicate, an injury from the past. And as a child, if I'm exposed to sun, there's a birthmark that comes out that cuts across here. And so I wonder if there was definitely heretic karma in my past, that maybe my hands were cut off at some point because I had, written something, a heretical, track that was disapproved of. And so that's where the hand karma comes in, I think. I mean, it's a much more detailed analysis. If I had the chart and I could point it out, it's much more, but I think it came down to let's say I'm in Judea at the time of the crucifixion. Well, I don't think this guy was so bad. Well, I don't know. They're paying me to nail him to the cross. I'll do it. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing that where I'm not really in line with the established thinking, but to make it easier on myself, I was, because my south node is in Libra, and the negative side of Libra is going along, just to keep the peace. That right. Negative. There's a lot that's positive about Libra. I'm not, please, any Libras in the chat, don't take offense, but I have to look at it negatively from the karmic standpoint. So I think that's what I was doing.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That story is amazing. And I like all the bits and pieces because you've told different aspects and parts of that.
Okay.
In different times. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really, really appreciate your courage and your energy and coming forth today to share this space with me. And next week, Shannon, who's in the chat, as well as Sarah, will be on with me next Saturday, August 14th, same time, same place. And I'm hoping to be here many, many Saturdays, just sharing the energy of many lovely souls that I have crossed paths with. So thank you. Thank you for being with us here today. Marybeth, you hang on. Don't sign off yet. Okay. And I hope to see you all very soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Namaste and blessed be.